quickly after he shares some thoughts with you, just because we have got a number of emergency management meetings happening this afternoon. Today our focus shifts to Tropical Cyclone Gabrielle. Auckland Emergency Management is working closely with Met Service New Zealand, the Mayor's Office and Auckland Council and other partner agencies to ensure that the region is as prepared as possible for any potential impacts caused by this new weather system. Our key message for our communities is to use the next few days to get ready for what could be another significant event for our region. We hope that people pitch in and do what they can now to ensure that they're the best prepared to respond as needed to what may come. And I'll provide some advice on this shortly. We've heard some truly amazing stories of the work that's being done across Tamaki Makaurau. Volunteer groups continue to mobilise, local community hubs are keeping up the great work, and not to mention the hard work being done by many supporting groups, marae and individuals. And to you all, thank you. So I'm just going to now share a little bit about what we know about Cyclone Gabrielle on current information. Service advises that the Auckland region can expect to feel first effects of Cyclone Gabrielle from Monday night, likely to be in the form of wind, with the most severe weather impacts expected on Monday and Tuesday. This weather system is expected to bring strong winds, heavy rain and very large waves to parts of the North Island. As the cyclone tracks closer, we will have more certainty on which path it will take and its potential impacts, and we expect to know more about that tomorrow. So what we're asking of you is that everybody takes the next couple of days to get prepared. We do have time. The Get Ready website is a great resource for people to check out with lots of information and tips for how people can prepare themselves for a storm. Think about your family members, pets and belongings. Be prepared to leave if you need to and have enough supplies to sustain yourself for up to 3 days. If you're reliant on prescription medication, it's worth ensuring that you have enough supplies to get through the next week. Check on neighbours, particularly those who are elderly or vulnerable. And if you can, take any flood damaged items to one of our 15 drop-off facilities before Sunday and refrain from putting any additional items out on the curb for collection. We're asking Aucklanders also to pitch in by ensuring that curbs and drains on and around your property are clear of debris before Sunday evening, if it's safe to do so. So what are we doing to get ready? What's the council doing? Auckland Emergency Management is planning an increased number of evacuation centres across the region for people to take shelter if they need to, and when the severe weather hits. The addresses of the evacuation centres will be published on aem.org.nz in the coming days. We know that access to some of these locations may be blocked depending on where the worst of the storm impacts are felt, and we're making contingency plans for access, or if we need to move to another site quickly. The Council's Waste Solutions team is working with the New Zealand Defence Force to clear items and belongings removed from curbsides across the region as quickly as possible to ensure they don't cause further damage in the event of flood or the event of further flooding. So just again, that reminder, if possible, prioritising things being taken to the transfer stations first and not putting more stuff out on curbside if you can possibly avoid that. Auckland Council's Healthy Operations team and contractors are working hard to maintain the region's stormwater network while preparing for more severe weather. Continues clearing hotspots and blockages around catch pits and inlet grills and removing debris from streams and waterways. Council's Auckland Emergency Management continues to respond to thousands of requests for service last month's floods. Civil Defence Centres and community support hubs remain open in Henderson, Mangere, New Lynn, Birkenhead and Randwick Park. And just again a reminder, if anyone is out there that needs support or assistance, you can always call 0800 22 2200. Finally, I'd just like to reiterate, please take the time that we have now to pitch in and prepare yourself and your family for the impacts of what could be more severe weather. Nā manaki tāna kia koutou. Thank you, everybody. Now I'm going to pass to the Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. So, Tamaki Makaurau faces a challenge on the heels last unprecedented weather event. The draft of Cyclone Gabriel is unknown at this stage, but it looks like we're going to be involved. Aucklanders were magnificent through the flooding and the storms of only 2 weeks ago. And hopefully there'll be news tomorrow about the cyclone's path, but we can't take that bet yet. At this time, our public resources are stretched. So please help by checking and clearing out any nearby drains that we haven't got to yet. Please get prepared, Aucklanders. I'd like to acknowledge the cooperation efforts of the Regional and National Emergency Management, of emergency responders, council officers, councillors, local boards, local iwi, our communities and their leaders who've all been pitching in. All working together in this one, and this time we'll do a much better at keeping you informed all the way along. I'll take a couple of questions before I dash off to the emergency committee meeting, which is carrying on at the moment.
Nzherald from New South. Look, we're just
Hello.
hearing a lot from people who are so upset after the last floods and they're just feeling really shaken. Do you have some words for those people who are now looking down the barrel of possibly a similar event?
Well, everyone offers their sympathies with them. It's not a good thing to be following on something which is already traumatic. We're well aware of it. We're doing our absolute best to prepare for this, but we can't wish it away. You have to face it, and that's very difficult. I accept that for those people. This time we do have the advantage of knowing it's coming.
And what are you hearing about the general severity of this pending event?
Well, I'm getting the information from Rachel and everyone's looking at their windy and other lemons at the moment, and it's not looking good.
Mayor Brown, you yourself acknowledged that communication wasn't up to scratch when the big floods hit 2 Fridays ago. If the cyclone is bad, what will you be doing differently to ensure the communication is up to scratch?
Well, this time we've had the opportunity to double check everything beforehand. We've double checked that they've got the right phone numbers, that they've got the right checks. We've learnt, we're taking it dead seriously. We took the last one dead seriously, but things turned out not to have been done as well as anyone hoped.
I think a lot of the concern for people is just how quickly the last floods hit and how quickly things escalated. Will the communication be efficient? Can Aucklanders, I guess, trust you this time around to be able to communicate with them effectively?
Well, definitely, and this time we had warning. There was no warning last time, and that made it quite difficult for all those involved at all levels, and a review covering those for the lessons.
Does this cyclone have the potential to wreak more damage on the city than the storms from last month?
I think the reason behind that concern is the ground here is already waterlogged, and we have trees and poles which weren't subjected to heavy wind last time, more likely to be power outages this time. So I'm suggesting that one of the things you should be doing at the moment is making sure you've got torches with batteries. There was a most unusual event, the last one, that power didn't actually go out, or not much at all. So the waterlogged nature of the ground makes this more potentially difficult.
And we're
Well,
looking
with the combination of the wind this time, the waterlogged landscape and so forth, do you think the damage could be worse overall than what we saw 3 weeks ago?
Well, everyone hopes, but we're preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
You're saying 300 mils possibly this time of rain. It was about 250 last time. Does that tie into this whole idea that the severity could be actually even worse than what we saw 2 weeks ago?
I think Rachel's got she's the one receiving the actual Met stuff, so possibly you can answer that. I'm not ducking the question, but she gets it.
Yeah, I'm just mindful too that you had your committee meeting.
Oh no, it's closed. Maybe just give me one more than she can answer
and
that
I can
one.
take up some of those. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just, back to the whole, what can you say to reassure Aucklanders about both the communication and the weather?
I wish I could reassure people about the weather, but we can't actually control that. And we are, as Rachel would say, there's a great deal of analysis about this one coming. There was none last time. And so everything has been double checked. We're absolutely made certain that all the precautions, the emergency centres are stood up already and there are more ready to go. Every lesson that could have been learnt has been learnt, and there is a review making sure that they stay learnt.